You're listening to the Erica and McAfee podcast, a faith-based podcast for Black women and women of color to share stories of grief and loss due to miscarriage, infant loss, stillbirth, with journeys of trying to conceive and infertility. Welcome to episode 20 of the Erica and McAfee podcast. Today's podcast is brought to you by the Honey Pot Company. Did you know that there was a Black-owned, plant-based feminine care company? The Honey Pot Company's goal is to educate, support, and provide women around the world with the tools and resources that promote feminine health and wellness. I was first introduced to the Honey Pot Company through a Curlbox body and received their 3-in-1 sensitive wipes. I loved them so much I had to repurchase. To learn more about the Honey Pot Company and to get a discount on products, visit ericaandmcafee.com/honey for more information. In today's episode, Tamira Dunn shares her lost story of son Elijah and her inspiration for Elijah's Hope Foundation Incorporated. The foundation sponsors an annual walk for pregnancy and infant loss in Baltimore, Maryland, and donates a portion of the proceeds to their scholarship fund, which supports doctoral students who are majoring in women and reproductive health. The loss of her son was very heartbreaking, but she has used her passion for helping others to create a resource for women who have experienced the same loss. A year after her loss, she accepted a position at Roberta's House as the program manager for the Hope Project. The Hope Project provides supportive services to women who have experienced a fetal or infant death before their child's first birthday. Mrs. Dunn is truly using her testimony to help others. Her goal is to empower women to keep the faith in spite of their loss. Thank you, Tamira, for being a part of the podcast.
Oh, no problem. Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay. So, hello, everyone. I'm Tamira. I am from Baltimore, Maryland. I have a foundation, Elijah's Hope Foundation, that I founded after the loss of my pregnancy in 2014. I am also the program director for the Hope Project at Roberta's House in Baltimore. Roberta's House is a grief and loss center, and my program specifically works with women who've experienced a pregnancy or infant loss. So we have support groups, and we also have home visitation programs where the family support workers would go out and meet with the mom one-on-one in the home for at least an hour once a week. Everyone on the team has had a loss, so this is like a peer-led program.
Mm-hmm.
So we're not just like social workers and human service workers. We are women who've actually experienced it. So that's like the beauty of the program, to actually have angel moms running an angel mom program.
Awesome.
I graduated from Morgan State with my bachelor's, and I went to University of Baltimore for my master's, and I'm also a member of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated, and an active member of Beta Alpha Tau Zeta chapter.
Awesome. So tell us about your lost story.
So 2014, found out I was pregnant. I was very excited. It was my first time ever being pregnant. I was 27 or 28. I had just graduated with my master's, so I just kind of felt like it was time. I was getting ready to be a mom. I remember going into the doctors on October the 14th and them doing the regular check for the heartbeat, and everything was fine. And then that night I had like lower back pains. So I remember calling my mom, like, I have like pains in my lower back. And she just said, keep your feet up, just lay down, maybe you're doing too much. But I was actually in labor and didn't know. And so that next morning, I remember telling Elijah's dad that I was still having these back pains. And so he advised me to call the doctor. I called the doctor, and the doctor told me I was constipated. So he said, just lay down, take some over-the-counter medicine, you'll be fine. Mm-hmm. But I didn't feel fine. Right. And so I think maybe about 5 minutes went by, and I sneezed, and a little bit of fluid came out. And so I called the doctor back like, okay, fluid just came out. I really think I should come in. And he's like, well, if you want to, you can come in. But I'm telling you, you're just constipated. But the whole time, I was in labor. And so my sister came to get me, and we drove right to the hospital. And the midwife checked me. The doctor didn't come in. The midwife checked me. She said, the baby's fine. There's a heartbeat. Everything's good. And so I was like, okay, well, I asked her before I left. I said, is this a sign of a miscarriage? And she was like, oh, no, you're fine. We're just going to call an emergency sonogram for 2 p.m. And just to make sure that you didn't lose a lot of fluid around the baby. So it was like 10 a.m. at that point. So in my mind, if it's an emergency, why aren't you sending me down for an emergency sonogram now? Why are you going to wait until 2 o'clock?
Right.
But anyways, I got the prescription that they gave me, went home, I laid down, and when I woke up, it felt like I needed to use the bathroom, and so I went to the bathroom. And I apologize if this is really graphic, but I went to use the bathroom. I thought I was going to make a bowel movement, and he came out. And I just felt like this gush of blood. And I looked down, and there he was. I was in the house by myself. I didn't know what to do. I was screaming. I was by myself. And so I just grabbed the phone, and I called Elijah's dad. I called my mom, and I called my sister. And they were like, call the ambulance, call it. Like, I guess I was just in a status. I didn't know what was going on. Like, what just happened? You know, you hear about miscarriages, but like never in a million years did I think that was going to happen to me, especially when I just left the doctors. And they told me that I was fine. And I even asked, is this a sign of a miscarriage? And she told me no. So to go home and have a miscarriage was like devastating. Like, I couldn't believe it. So ambulance came, took me to the hospital, and I just remember the doctor saying, you know, sorry, unfortunately, these things just happen. It was so insensitive, and it just didn't make me feel good at all. The midwife had came in that checked me earlier that day, and she was like, I'm so sorry this happened. When I checked you earlier, your cervix was closed. So I guess from the time I went in that morning to maybe about an hour or so later, my cervix had opened up. But I asked her, I said, why didn't you send me down to the emergency room to get a sonogram while I was there? I would have rather it had been at the hospital than to go home thinking I'm okay and for it to have happened. So, right. And they basically told me, you know, the emergency room was full, and if we would have sent you down there, you would have had to wait. And I don't understand the politics of the medical department or anything like that, but if you are concerned about a patient that you think lost a lot of fluid and she's pregnant, I would think you would be able to do something.
Right.
So that was what happened. So, yeah. And that was 15 weeks.
What happened after then? Did you do anything to honor your son, Elijah?
I did get to hold him.
Okay.
But I regret not taking a picture. And I think because I was 15 weeks, so like everything wasn't developed. But you could see like the eyes, like you could see some of those features, but I think I was just out of it.
Right.
And my mom kept asking me, do you want a picture? And I was like, no, like I could barely hold him, of course, without crying. It was just one of those things. Everybody tells you, you know, oh, after the first trimester, you're good. You're good. So when I hit the 12-week mark, I was like, oh, I'm good.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I'm telling everybody, I'm putting stuff on social media, and then at 15 weeks, he was gone.
Wow.
So
after you had that, I'm sure did you go to any counseling? Did you seek your pastor? Did you go to church more or less? I mean, I know we go through so many different stages of grief. How did you handle your grief?
My pastor was wonderful. She called, she checked on me. Very, very supportive. So I did reach out to my pastor. I did try to do the support group at the hospital because at that time, the program that I worked for at Roberta's house did not exist.
Oh, okay.
So there was no home visitation program, and there was no support group to which I am doing now. So I tried to do the support group that the hospital gives you.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't like it because it was just, first of all, I didn't want to ever go back to that hospital.
Right.
So the fact that the support group was at that hospital, I did try it. And it was uncomfortable because it was just the social worker allowing us to go around and share our stories. But there was no advice on coping techniques or what to do to take care of yourself. Because when this happens, self-care is very important.
Mm-hmm.
So there was no structure to the group. I needed structure. I needed a routine. And I think the support group was once a month. I needed something all the time.
Right.
I did see a therapist for a very long time. And she was really good. But that's kind of how I handled it. So I took some time off from church, but I did eventually go back. And my pastor was great, and I did see a therapist for a very long time.
Awesome. So what encouraged you and motivated you to try again?
Before even trying, I went into foster care.
Okay.
So I have a child in my care now who's 2 that I've had since she was 5 months.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I started that route first. And I guess I just felt like I was ready to be a mom. Like, I feel like I've done a lot. I've went to school twice. I've started my own businesses. I was ready to be a mom. I've always wanted to be a mom. Mm-hmm. So it was scary at first, but when I got pregnant with Reagan, I had a lot of complications during that pregnancy.
Mm-hmm.
I had to get a cerclage because I went into preterm labor with Elijah. So my doctor, I made sure I got a different doctor this time. So I went to see a high-risk doctor at Mercy, and he's actually the chair of the OB department at Mercy Hospital.
Okay.
I saw him every week, and he was okay with that. He's come as often as you want. So I did the cerclage. Right. I did the cerclage. So that was one surgery. And then right after the cerclage, I started having all of these pains. I swear I thought I was in labor. And I was 14 weeks. So I was like, I'm getting ready to lose this baby because I don't know what's going on. He couldn't figure out what was wrong, but he's like, you're not in labor. Mm-hmm. And I went to the ER maybe about 4 or 5 times that week after getting the cerclage. And so they finally said they're going to admit me because even morphine wasn't helping with the pain.
Oh, wow.
I had a torsion on my right. It was my right ovary and a cyst. And so he told me the pain that I was having was that of a heart attack.
Wow.
Because the blood was not getting through. Mm-hmm. So I had to have an emergency surgery at 14 weeks pregnant.
Wow.
Where she may not have made it.
Mm-hmm.
So it was very interested. The anxiety during that pregnancy was just all over the place.
Right.
So, yeah.
No, I definitely understand the cerclage. I had to get a cerclage as well with my rainbow baby. You got your cerclage early though. You were what 10 or 12 weeks along when you got your cerclage with your rainbow?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So that was good. That was good that you switched doctors, got a different opinion, went to a different hospital, and they were very attentive to what you needed at the time with your rainbow. So after you had your second surgery to remove the cysts and everything on your ovaries, was the rest of your pregnancy smooth sailing?
Yes, for the most part. I didn't have any complications from that surgery or anything, but I constantly kept like hitting my stomach to make sure she would move. Like, the anxiety was just ridiculous. So in my mind, I was fine, but like if I didn't feel her move in an hour, I was panicking. Like, why won't she move? I would eat some candy or something for her to move. Just 9 months of that was nerve-wracking.
Right. Yes, I think all of those lost moms who have tried again, we all know what you mean.
Yeah.
We definitely all know what you mean. So you had your rainbow baby. She was here. She was in your arms. Did any of your anxiety and fears, did they go away then?
Yes and no. I cried like a baby when she was born. But yes and no, because of what I do full time. It's still hard because the fear of SIDS was still there. So it's like, she's here, she's healthy, she's good, but I deal with this every day. I deal with women who lost babies to SIDS every day. And so I kept getting up in the middle of the night to check her, even though I know I put her on her back. But babies roll. I had to keep checking her. So then it was the fear of SIDS. So now that she was here, I still had a whole different fear. So, but she's 10 months now. I don't have as much fear, but I think my anxiety now is just that of being a mom, period.
The holiday season is here, and there's no need to go anywhere else to shop for your sister-in-law's lost mom, dad, or family member. Visit ericamcafee.com/shop for your ultimate holiday shopping guide for lost moms and families. There you will find personalized gifts, Christmas ornaments, jewelry, t-shirts, and other inspirational gifts curated for those who may have recently experienced the loss or this holiday season is just particularly difficult for them. Visit ericamcafee.com/shop to shop for your lost mom and family. Let's transition and talk about your foundation. What inspired you to start Elijah's Hope Foundation?
Well, after the loss and doing research, I found out that the day he died was actually the National Day for Pregnancy and Infant Loss. And so I was like, what were the odds of that happening?
Right.
That I lose a baby on October 15th, and October 15th is the day that President Reagan announced that it would be National Pregnancy and Infant Loss Day. And then I started seeing that there wasn't a lot of things being done in Baltimore. We have walks for breast cancer. We have the March of Dimes walk for premature babies. But there was nothing for pregnancy loss. So Elijah's dad and I came up with the idea to start the foundation so that just a way for us to honor him every year and also honor all of the other babies that were lost as well. And plus, I want more research to be done around why preterm labor is happening. With my full-time job, I sit on a lot of boards. Like I sit on the Fetal Infant Mortality Review Board for Baltimore City. Different boards that deal with preterm labor, and we were talking about African American women and how an African American woman who has a master's degree is still likely to have a preterm birth than a white woman who has no education. And so when things like that are said at meetings, it's just like, wow. Why is that?
Why, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Why, if I have a master's degree, am I at a greater risk of having a preterm birth than someone of a different race who doesn't even have a high school education?
Mm-hmm.
And basically, it was just stated that we go through a lot of stresses. African American women go through a lot of stresses. And so even having a degree doesn't take that away. So when we come home from work, our wheels are still spinning. We still have to prepare for the next day or how we can go into the office and be better than what we were the day before.
Right.
Whereas someone else, because of the color of their skin, don't have to worry about those things.
Mm.
And it's just interesting to hear that stuff play out in meetings. And so our foundation wants to raise money to support a doctoral student that would do research on women and reproductive health, or these issues that are happening with African American women, and why is it such? Yeah. So that's pretty much why we started it.
Awesome. Yes, that's my pain point too. Why are African American women twice as likely to have a miscarriage or a stillbirth than our white counterparts?
Yeah.
What is the difference with us? As you mentioned, we do have a lot of other stressors, but why? What are the other causes? A lot of the women that I've interviewed on the podcast thus far, we all have some other issues that reason why we couldn't keep a baby in our body. For us that we share in common, we both had incompetent cervixes that failed us, throughout as our pregnancy was going on into the second trimester, and that was the reason why we couldn't keep a baby in. And then I have so many other friends and so many other people on the podcast who have other issues, have other health issues that have limited them just to even try to conceive a baby or have a baby go past the first trimester. So, it is my pain point too. So it's awesome that your foundation is focusing on helping fund research for people to do more studies on that topic at hand, which is amazing.
Yes.
So, you all recently had a walk in October, right? Did you have it on October the 15th?
No, we had it on October the 7th. We normally do it in the beginning of the year because we have Morgan Homecoming here. And Baltimore Marathon and so much stuff going on in October that we didn't want to run into those issues like we did the first year. So now we just do it the very first weekend in October.
Awesome. What encouraging words can you leave to the other lost moms who are listening?
What I will say is to not blame yourself. This was nothing you can control. I don't like to use the term everything happens for a reason, but there's a purpose for everything. And you may not know what the purpose of losing the baby was today, tomorrow, or next week, but there's a purpose in you that will be shown, and it will be because of the loss, if that makes sense. Be patient with yourself. Know that grieving takes time. So today you may be okay, and then tomorrow you may not be, and that is totally fine. But there's a plan for your life. There's a purpose for your life. And the valley that you're going through now is rough, it's hard, but there's always light at the end of the tunnel.
Awesome. Yeah. So where can we find your organization? What's your website for your foundation?
So it's www.elijahshope.com.
Mm-hmm.
We are on Instagram at Elijah's Hope Inc. INC. And we're on Facebook, Elijah's Hope Foundation.
Awesome. So where can we find you on social?
So my personal Instagram is Tamira, Tamira .the CEO. And I'm on Facebook, Tamira, my first name, Tamira, Nicole, Nicole.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Tamira, for being a part of the podcast and sharing what you're doing with Elijah's Hope Foundation.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for listening to today's episode of the Erica and McAfee podcast. I pray this episode was inspirational and a blessing to you. For show notes of today's episode, visit ericaandmcafee.com/podcast episodes. We now have a Facebook group. Join the Sisters in Lost community on Facebook by going to ericaandmcafee.com/community to join in the discussion. This community is for you, the listeners of the Erica and McAfee podcast, and for us to dive deeper in discussion of the episodes. We're going to chat with some of the episode guests, and of course, we're going to discuss questions around grief, loss, marriage, faith, and love. This group is for you. Please visit ericaandmcafee.com/community to join. I'm also launching my Trying Again Grief Coaching service. This is for those women who are trying to conceive after a loss and are looking for the emotional and spiritual support going through that journey. I have 3 open slots available for coaching. So if this is of interest to you, please visit ericaandmcafee.com/coaching to sign up for a discovery call. I look forward to helping you through your pregnancy after loss journey. Please don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review the Erica and McAfee podcast, especially if you're in iTunes. Keep the faith, and I will talk with you next Wednesday.